You're listening to episode 31 of the Wheeler's Dog Podcast. Hey, I'm Eugene B. Sims, and again, thanks for checking out the Wheeler's Dog Podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And, if you missed the last Patreon-only episode, well, you missed out. I can't even remember what it was about. I know it was about the seasonal thing, and Jamie on a house cleaning tear, and, the war with the recycling bin being emptied. That has come to an end. So check that out. Again, it's Patreon only. So patreon.com/WheelersDog. This podcast is for the masses. And so let us begin. My day started, and this is Monday as I record it. My day started about, when I finally got up out of bed, it was about 10 after 5 a.m. It all really began shortly after 3 a.m. when Lucy, the littlest dog, the oldest dog, we had some health issues with her about a month ago. We thought she was a goner, but the bitch is still hanging on, still tough as nails. But this morning, about 3 o'clock, she was kind of getting antsy. And I was like, okay, all right, let me get up. For some reason, this does not wake up Chigs at all. For me, I don't know. Maybe I've just got a sensitive ear to it, but I can hear her click, 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 as she's walking around, her toenails hitting the hardwood floor. And so she's pacing. So I let them out about 3 a.m. this morning. They went out there, did their business, barked at something in the woods behind the house. I don't know. Then they came back in. So went to sleep, and I thought everything was good. I'd be fine until the alarm wakes us up at 6:30. But no, pacing began again at 5 a.m. That little bitch starting to get back up again, Pacing back and forth, back and forth. Well, Chigs was on furlough last week, so she's back to work as of this morning. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording this, she's in the game room. I'm downstairs in the office, which I guess it'll be her office because I'm moving everything down here. I've got to clean it up. She seems to think that it's, as I'm looking at cobwebs right now on the walls and hanging down from the ceiling, she's wanting me to clean it up a bit. So I've actually cleaned out quite a bit in here because when we moved here, this was pretty much my dump it. My stuff, dump it right here. And I haven't seen the entire floor in here for 4 years because we moved in May of 2016. And I would say May 17th is when we had the cable put in, the internet, all that stuff. I'd say that was our official day in. But, so it's interesting. I'm seeing the floor in here for the first time in 4 years, and, I swept it out a little bit, but still, it needs a little bit of work, because I was going to move her in just yesterday. She's like, no, I need it clean in there. Yeah, like that's conducive to how you work. I don't really get it, but, anyway, I'm going to clean it out, and it's a tile floor in here, so it gets kind of cold on under your feet, so we've got a rug in one of the storage buildings. Yeah, the pool house. There's a rug. I'm going to put that rug in here. But anyway, I was talking about Lucy, and because I didn't want Chigs to get awakened this morning with Lucy. So I just went ahead, 5:10, I just went ahead and got up, Just let them bitches out again. Let them do their thing. And, of course, they start barking. But closer to the house this time. They're not over by the pool area barking their little asses off. No. So I got this bitches back in. And then Lucy just kept pacing, back and forth. I don't know what her deal was. I got her some food. She didn't seem to care. I don't know. Maybe she had problems sleeping. Maybe she's got dog insomnia or some crap like that. So I just decided to get up and let Chigs get some more rest. You know, because normally the alarm goes off at 6:30. I wake her up and she's like, yes, yeah, which means hits the snooze. I hit the snooze about 15 minutes, so 6:45. It's like I'm pushing her. Just give me 2 more minutes. Just 2 more minutes. I know I've said it before, but Chigs will sell her soul to the devil for more sleep. I don't quite understand it. Because, you know, to me, you're not really getting any deep sleep. What deep sleep you have under your belt already. I don't understand the process. Usually I get 8 hours a night, and I'm pretty good. Sometimes if I have jags of like several days where I don't get anything but like 5 hours of sleep, I might take a nap. I remember the last time I took a nap, a couple of weeks ago, Chigs thought there was something wrong with me because usually if you see me napping, I'm not feeling good. I'm sick. Something's going on. So immediately she was concerned, but I just told her, and I tried to tell her, I'm tired. I just wanted to take a nap. I got maybe about 20 minutes. I guess that's considered as my friend Kim Thor would say, a disco nap. But, you know, I just wanted Chigs to get some good sleep this morning. So I don't know what had her anxious, uneasy, antsy. I don't know. But something interesting happened when I let the dogs outside. I could hear something. It sounded like a wounded animal, you know, like, I'm like, what in the hell is that? Is it coming down from the basement? Or coming up from the basement, I should say. So I go over there, get a little closer to where there's the basement door, and then there's the 3 steps that take it upstairs to where the bedrooms are. As I got closer to the steps, I could tell the noise was coming from the Mills room. That wounded animal, that was actually the Mill, having a nightmare. That's right, she was demon dreaming. That's what Chigs and I call it, demon dreaming. Because that's what she does. Whenever she's having like a nightmare or something like that, it usually involves demons for some reason. We were down in, as a matter of fact, just last year for Sam's graduation from college, even though he graduated with a master's this year, his initial graduation last year, everybody went down there and she was demon dreaming, freaking out, you know, screaming, yelling. People heard it. Other people heard it. Didn't know what the hell was going on. So this morning she was having more demon dreaming. Then later, you know, about an hour later, something, you know, 6:15-ish, 6:30, I could hear her in there talking. Just talking. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but every time, here's the weird thing. Every time I get close enough to the door with my cell phone to record the audio for this podcast, for you, listeners of the Wheeler's Dog podcast, I try to get the audio recorded, but every time I get to the spot where I can get good audio, she stops making sounds. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I try and I try and I try. And also this morning, once Chigs got up, she was sitting outside, you know, enjoying her coffee as she usually does, and sitting out on the back deck and, you know, looking at the pool, because that pool's going to get open today, ladies and gentlemen. Open today. Cannot wait to get that thing open. And finally, you know, Chigs won't have an excuse to browbeat me about the pool. So, yeah, hope to get it open today, get the chemicals in it, massage it for a couple of days. We'll probably be in it Wednesday, Thursday at the latest. So, yeah, looking forward to that. But while she was out there, I came out there to talk to her about the demon dreaming. And, you know, I'm listening to my favorite morning show. It's on a classic rock station here in North Carolina. As a matter of fact, it could very well be on the classic rock station you're listening to if you're out of state, because Dick Broadcasting bought a bunch of radio stations, so they put the Two Guys Named Chris show on their stations. You know, why not? It's a very successful show here in the Greensboro area, in the Triad, the Piedmont, North Carolina, all the way from Raleigh to Charlotte, you know, west to Winston-Salem. Not so much north. They have problems with the K92 out of Roanoke, but yeah, south, do very well. Towers in Asheboro, excuse me. And I listened to them. Well, I started this morning since I got up. I noticed it was like, 5:54. Let me go ahead and click on over to that radio station's website and start listening, so I won't miss any of the Two Guys Named Chris show. Well, I hear The Stroke by Billy Squier. Fantastic song. Great song. Love it. I'm enjoying it. Then, of course, you know, they throw in a liner, and then it's shot through the heart, and you're to blame. Oh, God. No joke. I actually posted on Facebook with a GIF, or a GIF, whatever you call it, GIF, of Seinfeld doing a body shiver. And that's kind of my reaction to anything that Desmond Child has a hand in writing. And I'm talking about Desmond Child wrote a lot of songs in the 80s. I mean, he was a hit maker. And for some reason, his songs, they have a particular blueprint, and they have a particular sound, and I can't stand them. There are some that he's co-written, and I like, you know, like Heaven's on Fire by Kiss. I like that. But usually the bulk of everything that he's written with any other artist sucks posterior. Yeah. It just drives me up a wall. Well, apparently Two Guys Named Chris were talking about that post. I didn't get to hear the whole audio because I'm outside with Chigs. She's having coffee, and we're talking about Demon Dreaming, and I got a cup of coffee in my hand, and I go back inside, and I hear that my name is mentioned, because I'm listening online. I didn't bother to call in because, you know, it could be a minute or 2 minutes behind, and by the time I get called in, the segment would be over, so there's no point in intruding in their show like that. So, you know, not that they'd actually put me on the air. So, anyway, I hear my name being mentioned because, you know, I used to work with all those guys. As a matter of fact, I used to work as a producer when, you know, Goat Boy was out of town. I would, you know, be on the phones and take care of business that way and be a part of the show. I never really jumped into the show. I guess I should have, because it was always my dream to work on a morning radio show, but I was, you know, trying to be respectful and not, you know, try to make it about me. You know, this podcast is about me, but I have room to put Chigs in there. It's mainly about my life, not so much about me, but, you know, I'm not that egotistical. So, you know, I always wanted to be a part of a morning show, but, you know, it just didn't happen. And I was actually told when I auditioned for the part, put my hat into the ring, that my brand of comedy is too left field. Yeah, that's what I was told. I was just too out there for them. But anyway, they were talking about me, and Biggie told one of his favorite Eugene stories, and the funny thing is I have no recollection of it. It sounds totally like something I would say to be a smart ass, because that's what I do. So I did hit up Biggie to see if he would send me the audio and play it on this break, or on this podcast, a little bit later.
You want extra episodes of the Wheeler's Dog Podcast? Of course you do. No one in their right mind would pass up an opportunity to get a bonus episode every week. Not every once in a while, but one every week. Just go to patreon.com/WheelersDog and get into the dog share for just $4. $4 every month unlocks all the audio. You can even listen with the Patreon app for tablets and smartphones. Patreon.com/WheelersDog to contribute. It's the best gift that you could ever give yourself, really. Maybe.
Now back to the dogs. You know what I'm talking about? Dogs. Dogs, more or less, if you think about it, dogs have like the brain power, capacity, activity, whatever you want to call it, of the average 3-year-old. You know, they're pretty much like little toddlers walking around. Some are smart, some are really, really dumb, and that's okay. But you got to constantly watch dogs. You know what I mean? They'll eat stuff. They'll put stuff in their mouths that they're not supposed to. They'll chew on things. They might have the occasional accident. You know what I mean? They're a lot like children. Now, me, I've never wanted children. From the time I realized how to procreate, I never wanted children. Never even crossed my mind. Never. Even though, here's the deal. In the Sims family line, this particular family line, I am the last one to carry the name. So, I had to have a boy to carry on the name, but I didn't have one. I don't plan on having one. And thankfully, my nephew, Preston, he had his last name legally changed to Sims. And since, he is my nephew, he by all rights gets to carry on the Sims family name, and that's fantastic. It does not die with me. It keeps going. So I like that aspect, but I never wanted children. Never cared for having kids. Even, keep in mind, I was engaged once, and thankfully that didn't work out because I don't know where she or I would have ended up. Maybe one of us in prison and one of us in the ground. I'm not sure. I'm thankful that she did want to date one of my friends and dump me for him. So I'm thankful that happened. I actually, it took me a long time to get over, especially when he was one of my friends. And when I saw them both when they were still married, I actually bought him a beer and told him thank you because I had gotten over I took it as a slap in the face. It was just like, wow. And then, over time, as time does, it heals and puts things in perspective for you. And it certainly did put things in perspective. And I'm thankful that whatever they did happened because it happened for all the right reasons. And so but the thing is with her, she didn't want kids either. At least that's what she said. She didn't want kids. I didn't want kids. So, hey, it would work out great. But my parents actually told me one time, I can't remember what I was doing, but my mother and my father were in the same room. Maybe we were watching something to do with kids or something. I can't remember. And this was before my sisters had kids. And so my mother said, out of our 3 kids, you're the one we worry most about having children. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Why are you worried about me having kids? Well, why? They knew I didn't want any. And I'm like, why would you say such a thing like that? What makes you believe that would not be a good parent? And my mother came out and she told me, she said, son, you're just too liberal. You're just too liberal with the way you allow people to do things. And that was it. I was like, wow, because I'm, open-minded and, maybe not as strict as they are. I was at a loss. I didn't know what to say. But as you can hear, people were downstairs making all kinds of racket as I record this. But hey, this is life. This is the way it goes. I'm not going to get uptight, As a matter of fact, Chigs is a little irritated with my uptightness here lately. She let me have it in the car yesterday afternoon as we were going to Bait and Bobby's. So, yeah, back to the subject, kids at hand. I would babysit my nephew Preston. I was out of work, out of a full-time job, working part-time at Rock 92, and mainly going in the evening. So My father was still working for the sheriff's department, and I was living at home because I had nowhere else to go. I had lost everything at this particular point. I mean, everything from the fiance I mentioned all the way to one of my good friends who died of an aneurysm, my job, all kinds of things. So, my house, everything gone. So, it was kind of a pickup session of my parents that lasted quite a few years, but I would babysit my nephew for my sister Tina and keep him. And I would change, diapers and stuff. That was a first for me. I didn't much care for it. I bought rubber gloves because I have this clean hand fetish. As a kid growing up, I could be dirty from head to toe, but my hands would be clean just about all the time. And if they weren't, I'd be washing them very, very soon. But I would babysit Preston, and no joke, I put on the latex gloves to change him. And one time, my father caught Preston changing the diaper on his teddy bear, and he had taken his socks off to put them on his hands to mimic me. I thought that was kind of funny. But, as he got older and hanging out with the neighbor next door, her name was Ruby. Well, I guess her name still is Ruby. And she had her grandchildren that she'd keep during the day. And Preston would go over there and they'd hang out and they'd play and ride toys and everything. So it was time for that one grandkid to go in, have lunch, and take a nap. And they told Preston that he could keep riding the toy that he was riding. So I went over there and said, hey, man, come on over here to the house. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're having some sort of wrestling tournament. I don't know if you can hear them. But anyway, Preston decided that he was going to keep riding the toy right there under their carport. And I'm like, no, Preston, come over here. Come over here. And he kept saying, no. Because my thoughts were, okay, the kid wants to keep playing. He's a kid. He can put off lunch a little bit. And then, if he's trying to go take a nap, he's still kind of jazzed up because Preston's out there under the carport. So I'm trying to get him at least with the toy to come over to our driveway and get, out of earshot. And so Preston's like throwing a fit. And I'm trying to, then I get upset and I was like, look, just leave the toy there and come on over to the house. And he was getting very uptight, and I was practically at the point to go over there and yank him over the house. And I mean yank, as not, actually yanking. I mean, bring him back to the house. So my father, I don't know where he was, what he was doing, but he was coming up through the neighbor's backyard, and he said, just let him ride, let him be, I got him. And I was taken aback. I was like, wait a minute. This is the same harsh disciplinarian that I grew up with telling his grandson that it was okay for him to stay right there. I mean, granted, he didn't know the full story. But I was, to be quite honest, I was hurt. So I went back to my father a little bit later. Just he and I, we got some alone time. And I said, look, I'm a little hurt by what you did. And the reason why I'm hurt is because I am also an authority figure to Preston. By you telling him that he could do whatever after I've told him that, you sort of undermined my authority. And I would never do that to you. I would never just, even question what you were doing. In front of him. I would never say anything bad. I would never do anything to undermine your authority. And I'd appreciate the same respect because I am in a position of authority in Preston's life. You're still an authority over mine. I don't talk back anymore. So I just couldn't believe it. And I told him, I was like, I'd appreciate it if you just kind of, back me up, and I'll be happy to back you up. And he understood, and he apologized, and never said anything. If I laid something out there for one of the kids, He never questioned it, never went back on it. So, I appreciate that. But as I got talking one time to him and my mother about it, my mother says, well, you're just too strict. And I was like, do you remember the conversation we had years ago before any of these grandkids came up? That I'm too liberal? That I'd let them do anything? Jeez. And, I try to see most sides of the story. Like with Matthew, for instance, the youngest, stepson here. I try to see both sides of the story, because he's having issues. His whole life has been turned upside down by this COVID virus. And so, I give a lot of leeway. And I try to be really good, with the stepsons. And I don't want to be one of these really hard-ass stepfathers, you know what I mean? Just being a jerk. And I try not to do that. Chigs has been happy with the way that I've kind of butted in. There was only one time that I really had to lay down the law, and it was something where they weren't listening to their mother after midnight on a Saturday night while we're watching Saturday Night Live. They're out there shooting hoops in the cul-de-sac, playing basketball. It makes kind of noise at a quiet time of the night. And she told them to come in, and they just weren't listening. So I had to go out there and basically tell them what it is. It's like, hey, guys, you're not listening to your mother. The same woman that does everything you ask her to do in any way that she possibly can. If you're after something and she can make it happen, she does it for you. She does a lot for you. And you can't give her the respect to listen to her. I try to be reasonable without trying to be hard ass, I try to point out the logic and everything. And then there's lots of times like Sam, for instance, Sam is a very alpha kind of guy. I knew that I had to approach things a lot differently with him because he would fight back. So I gave Sam lots of leeway, and I'd like to think that we're perfectly fine. I respect the man. He turned out to be a great adult. Matthew's turned out to be a great adult as well. He'll be 18 later in August. I think Chigs has done a fantastic job raising those kids. And they're just good. They're great kids, I'm lucky in that sense that, I join a family and there's no super bitchy drama that a lot of times happens. So I'm very thankful for that.
If you like irrational conversations with the cool breezes of Anytown, USA, listen to the Schlub Resonance in Apartment 5B, Bicker and Moan on the Apartment 5B podcast. Available everywhere you find podcasts and at tldpodnetwork.com.
Again, thanks for checking out the Wheeler's Dog podcast. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you get some sort of enjoyment out of this. And again, thanks to Tim Beeman, the associate producer at the Less Desirables Podcast Network. I do appreciate it. Give Wheeler's Dog a like on Twitter, or follow on Twitter at Wheeler's Dog. The Wheeler's Dog Facebook page, give that a like. And if you're on Instagram, Wheeler's Dog Podcast. Do lots of I try to be entertaining on there, but it's mainly just me kind of promoting the podcast, but I'm trying to do a little better and not just always promoting the podcast. So again, thank you folks, tell your friends, and I am out of here. I'm like, what in the hell is that?